Fire Emblem characters come in all shapes and sizes. You have your big ones, your small ones, your tall ones, and your short ones. They also come in a bunch of personality traits, archetypes, tropes, and cliches. You got your diligent knights, your sleazy dudes, your edgelords, even the guys who try to be edgelords. Sometimes these characters look normal, but harbor some weird personality trait that makes you scratch your head and go, wait, did that just happen? This video is all about the really funny, bizarre exchanges that have occurred with Fire Emblem characters. This video was a joy to make. I always love exploring characterization and revisiting character dialogues that I have previously not paid attention to. These characters are a mixed bag of well-known and under-the-radar characters. So hopefully, we all learn something. And at one point in this video, hopefully go, wait, what? Laurent. Laurent, like his mother, is a calculating and sort of cold person. He arrived years earlier in the present day than Lucina, and so was isolated for a long time. Through that isolation, he developed an idea that he must act more maturely and rationally to survive. This mindset has carried over into his interactions. He's incredibly observant and critical, but uses these talents to help his allies see how they can improve themselves by being objective and honest in his analysis. Because he is this way though, it's not often we see him vulnerable or emotive, besides the instances where he's fascinated by magic. And even when he does have confessions in his S supports, he usually still retains his objective and almost robotic candor. But there are exceptions. Laurent, please, have you ever heard me talk about station before? I don't give a whit for your parentage. I care what's in your heart, and in truth, I feel much the same about you. You do? I do, and I have for quite some time. This is wonderful, stupendous, for once I don't know what to say. I want to support you as long as you have me. Together forever. As do I. It's only right two souls derelict in caring for themselves find each other. That's all well and good. Laurent being characterized as being flustered or speechless is great when it happens with Lucina, and this is something you would hope for a character like him. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepares you for his S support with Noir. Throughout the C, B, and the first part of their A support, Laurent is being critical of how poorly Noir is taking care of herself. She's skipping meals, not doing chores, etc. I fear it's what you haven't done. I haven't seen you maintaining your weapons as of late. Are you caring for them properly? I haven't really had time this week. Being busy is no excuse. Your own life and those of your allies depend on that equipment. I should think a cursory inspection every day is not too much to ask. What was that? Speak up, please. Shut up. I beg your pardon? It sounded as if... Still your chattering tongue, you blithering idiot! Noir's other side comes out after constantly getting berated by him. As she gets unhinged on him, Laurent backpedals as he's flustered, trying to calm her down and apologize. Noir takes his apology and really rubs it in just to humiliate him. Laurent scurries away. In the S support, he returns and apologizes to her. Her outlash made Laurent realize how difficult and unfair he was being to her, and while she apologizes to him for yelling, Laurent responds with telling her that he kinda got off on it. I don't think I've ever been tongue-lashed quite so thoroughly before, and in truth, it had my heart racing. I was agog at seeing you true for the first time. I nearly fell right then and there. Yep. Laurent falls in love with Noir because she raged on him. He insists that she keeps doing it. I guess he gets off on that shit. Hearing you expose my flaws and deride me made me feel happier than I have ever been. I still feel like something about this is just a little bit off. But if this is what you want, then, okay. I guess I'll make it work. I, look forward to watching our love blossom over the years, Laurent. Could you try saying that more forcefully? Perhaps insult me a little? Look, it's not my place to kink shame Laurent, but oh my goodness! This comes so out of left field, and it's very transparently implied that this is a major turn-on for the guy. Like, yes, Laurent can be compelled to be more emotional, like when he confesses his feelings to Lucina. But this This is a whole other level. He's visibly more emotional and animated in his desire to be humiliated by Noir than he is confessing to anyone else to a drastic degree. Thank God the localization team left this in there, because it's not only great characterization for an otherwise standard Fire Emblem character as far as personalities go, but it's just fucking hilarious. Good on you, Laurent. Seriously, have a good life. You deserve it. Devon. To those who are familiar with the Tellius games will recognize Devon, and can probably take a good guess as to why he is specifically on this list. To those who have never played the Tellius games, or who don't know who Mecha is, Devon is a halberdier you can recruit in Chapter 16, after he discovers that Oliver is holding Legu's slaves. He is famously known for being an eccentric individual with an interesting habit of referring to himself in the third person. To be completely honest, most of his interactions depict some kind of odd characterization for this guy, from telling Ike that he needs to enjoy the simpler things in life like the flora and nature in some undisclosed garden, to having really bizarre and weirdly chaotic support chains with Nephany, which can be its own section, but I wanted to focus on his support with Largo, the berserker with a body of steel, a heart of gold, and not a lot else. Devon is an entertainer and always wants to make people smile and to assist the next generation to be better. He refers to his support partners, Tormod, Nephany, and Largo, as young ones. But his passion for entertainment sometimes manifests into playing tricks on them for fun. My favorite Devon moment is where he screws with Largo. Largo notices him street performing, but no one is actually watching him, so he approaches him and Devon starts a new performance act. He draws a stick figure, and Largo initially is unimpressed, but then the stick figure starts to talk. Devon introduces his stick figure friend as Nadved, and Largo is amazed. In reality, Devon is a master ventriloquist and starts doing more tricks. In the B support, Largo finds the piece of paper lying on the ground and tries to talk to it, but it's not saying anything, so he gets angry and crumples it up. But then, Navded starts to scream in agony. Oh, by the goddess, what have I done? I'm a monster, a monster! I gotta dispose the body. Oh, hello, Largo, how are you today? What? Oh, Devon, how are you? It's such a nice day, and I was just, forgive me, yeah! He ran away. Oh, poor young one. Perhaps Devon is to blame for showing you his trick, but Devon can't tell you how it's done, because it is a secret. Oh, the shame of it all. In the A, Largo confesses his crime and apologizes to Devon and Nadved for crumpling up his paper pal. But then Devon draws another Nadved and starts to perform again. Largo! I missed you! Woo! Oh, it's you! I'm so sorry, Nadved. I put you through so much pain, just because I lost my temper. That's alright, Largo! The support ends with Devon playing another goof on Largo and scaring him with his friend Nadved again. The whole chain is very charming and lighthearted, and has plenty of that relaxed, chaotic Devon nature sprinkled on top. I can't recall another support that uses literal ventriloquism as its anchor, and not only that, the way Nadved is characterized, a stick figure that speaks like this, is something that you can't find anywhere else. I don't know how Devon learned this skill, but he does end up becoming a traveling comedian in his ending, so I guess he just has a knack for this stuff. His whole character, including his Radiant Dawn alter ego, who is most definitely not Devon, is filled with humorous and good-hearted eccentricity. And it's his Largo support that really showcases everything that Devon, Nadved, and Danved are at their core. A showman. Volug. Volug, to me, is quite the striking character in the Radiant Dawn cast. First of all, Wolf Legus are badass, and Volug being your only playable Legus non-royal instantly makes him stand out. But something else makes him stand out, too. He doesn't actually speak Bjork. He only speaks his native language, but he can understand Bjork fine. As a first-time player, this at least led me to believe that Volug is just naturally a quiet guy to begin with, and because he looks so intense and is characterized by Nyla as literally a guard dog when she speaks to Micaiah, it's easy to think that Volug is, in a way, an actual playable dog with no real personality. Well, it turns out, he actually is very comedically self-aware. Sorry to cut in with the bad mic quality here, but I forgot to mention this in script, so this is a post-edit. But as a fun trivia, the ancient language and the characters used within are just swapped out English characters, so you can actually translate what these Laguz are actually saying. More information on the Serena's Forest page here. And in understanding this, this leads to some pretty funny realizations with Volug's dialogue. Let's talk about what he's actually saying. For example, in the base conversations with Nyla and Ike, because they speak different languages and couldn't understand each other, Volug chooses not to say anything at all when he hands him an elixir. Nyla tells him that he should at least try to say something. Volug replies with hesitation since he wouldn't understand but goes along with it. It turns out, the act of speaking with intent makes it clear to Ike what he meant, despite him using the Hatari language, to which Volug responds, "It's about time." They then make an agreement to teach each other lessons here and there about their respective languages. It indicates that Volug isn't shy or even an automaton. He just doesn't see the point in talking to someone who wouldn't understand him. However, his support conversation lines are where his humor comes out. C support addressing. "Hey, you ever wonder what would happen if I just ate everyone we fought? Would the rest keep fighting?" C support addressed. "Oh, hello. I don't know why I'm speaking. I'm sure you can't understand me anyway." B support addressing. "Do you want to join forces? I promise I'll talk occasionally." His A addressed. "You know how hard it is to be this charming when you never say anything? You should try it. It's hard." "No, Volug, I've never wondered what would happen if you just started eating enemies on sight. But I'd probably be terrified. And I'm not sure why you speak even if I don't speak Atari, but I appreciate the thought. And no, I don't know how hard it is. This whole time I thought you were some boring wolf guy with no personality." It's all to say that he's actually really chill and a self-aware dude with genuinely funny lines of dialogue. Let's continue our track of Fire Emblem games in reverse order and talk about the Game Boy Advance games, starting with a character that is pretty, loaded with personality. Sure, we'll say that. It's Corel, but it's Blazing Sword Corel. This guy is on edgelord overload. Fire Emblem is no stranger to long-haired, robed killers with a penchant for edginess. Navarre, Shiva, Rutger, Jafar. But FE7 Corel trumps them all. Yes, even Nurgle found me crying atop a pile of corpses when I was a baby Jafar. But that's the point of FE7 Corel. His batshit insane violence is meant to be a massive contrast to his FE6 counterpart, who is 20 years older and is wiser and way more calm. Some great examples of FE7 Corel insanity are, well, he killed his own mother and father in order to inherit the family sword, which was then said to possess him, but he spared his sister Carla because he deemed her not a worthy opponent. So, that's horrifying. He lives only to kill people who he deems worthy of fighting. He trains Guy, but in the A support stops training him because he's concerned that he's becoming more and more unable to control his desire to kill Guy as he is now a worthy opponent. The entire Dart support chain is Dart talking about the greatest warriors in Elib, Corel constantly replying that he's killed every single person he mentions, ending with Dart realizing that the last fighter he mentioned, the Sword Demon, is the guy standing in front of him. By the way, yes, Corel's nickname is Sword Demon. Even though he has lines like, "My body is my blade," and shit, he does have brief moments of humanity, like sparing Carla as he reminds her of his humanity as a kid, or when Lucius exposes his vulnerable side and gets him to admit his mortality by wishing to rest calmly because he's exhausted by the killing. There's this one errant moment of characterization that to me indicates that the writers were actually having fun writing out his balls to the wall edginess though. Like they knew that they were making Corel to be this borderline out of control lunatic, but wanted to have some fun anyway. The Dart support is slightly comic relief, but so is the Geats support. Granted, this support chain is super undercooked for the most part. The A and B support don't really accomplish anything aside from Geats being annoyed at Corel's aloofness and Corel being dismissive of Geats' capability as a warrior. In the A support, Corel is following Geats around watching him. Geats calls him out and tells him to knock it off since he finds it creepy. But then he quickly realizes that Corel may or may not have been preparing to attack him to test his mettle. Yeah, so what? Stop being weird. You sneak up on me like death itself and... Wait, you're not trying to ambush me, are you? Pfah. Give me a straight answer. Pfah is not good enough. Pheh. I don't know about you guys, but I get a total kick out of Corel replying with a dismissive pfah, followed up with a dismissive pheh. Corel is indeed very, very edgy, but it's strangely appealing for someone so consciously written to be a contrast to his FE6 counterpart that I feel his audibly different sound of dismissal is a nod basically saying, yes, we made Corel ridiculous, but it don't mean we can't goof off. The last character I want to talk about is Trek, a relatively quietly talked about character from Binding Blade. I'm sure it doesn't really help that his official art looks honestly really fucking miserable, although, to be fair, his tired face is a reflection of the guy he is. He's basically a narcoleptic. Guy falls asleep in the middle of battle throughout the day, anywhere really, and his personality is incredibly sleepy to boot. He's like, completely ultra chill. He kind of enjoys thinking about nothing and zoning out, but he also likes to let people say what they need to say and just listens and vibes. That's it. He vibes all the time. Trek is always vibing. Whether it's about talking to Noah about how he'd go ice fishing in Ilia and catch no fish but do it just to vibe anyway, or when he's vibing with Gonzalez and he's trying to remember his name. And Trek takes the giant's inability to speak properly or remember words in stride. With his penchant for sleeping comes the inevitable daydreaming he has. There's a moment with his Melody A support that I think is so on brand for Trek that it solidifies him as this oddball type guy. Throughout the C and B support, the two are getting to know each other. Melody, a knight of Byrne, wonders if Trek is okay with her fighting alongside him, and he responds that he doesn't really care. In the B support, she notices that he's observing her fight, and then he tells her it's making his neck hurt. Context: he wasn't staring at her ass, she's a wyvern knight, she flies around, and does loop-de-loops and shit. And then, out of nowhere, he asks her if he has a lover, but she says no, that she lives for Guinevere instead. It's really random, and he kind of just leaves after asking. It's in line with his characterization with just kind of having these aimless conversations with people. Like small talk, but it's just so much pointless small talk that after a while it makes you think like, oh, are we done talking or... Where things start getting into WTF tier is just his silly and dumb A support, which has like 3 levels to it. First of all, he calls his habit of forgetting people's names a hobby. You're an odd individual, Sir Trek. Do you think so? I think I'm pretty normal. Everyone tells me that they envy me because I look like I have no worries or anything. I have my concerns too, you know. Oh, like what? Well, the other day, I dreamed I was a horse. A horse. Just imagine your Melody. How are you supposed to process this exchange? My life isn't all sunshines and rainbows, you know. This one time, I dreamed that I was a horse. There's not even a follow-up to this either. The support ends after Trek says that this dream concerns him, and how he can only sleep at night now. Like a normal person, I guess. Okay, granted, it's this naturally good vibes personality that alleviates Melody's stress, along with Noah and Gonzalez and Juno, and also granted, Trek does indicate that he puts a lot of stock in these dreams as he has a dream journal, as seen in his Juno support conversation, where the I was a horse dream is legitimately their entire C support. His unapologetically carefree and honest delivery of this line in particular is quintessential Trek. There's not much to it, or to him, but I'd say it's enough of a wacky and noteworthy characterization to be mentioned here. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to wrap things up here, but there are so many other characters who I feel can have a mention on their own, enough where perhaps a second video is appropriate. In my last video, I got a lot of comments about Gaius and various other characters, and there were other characters that I felt I could have put in that video as well, and in this one too. So, heck, I may make a sequel for both of these videos. If you have a character in mind that you think fits this particular bill, shout it out in the comments below. And look, I know it's a really common YouTuber thing to say, but your comments are incredibly important to this omnipotent YouTube algorithm. So if it's just commenting anything at all, I promise you it's helpful for me and the channel. Also, while we're here, if you're one of these people and you're watching this and you made it to the end where I'm talking about how analytics are important to me, can you subscribe, please? And that's going to do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.